Hello and welcome to Jeremic85. Today it's not about my Dodge Ram, but about this Volkswagen Passat. We are replacing the shock absorbers and you are welcome to watch. We have already bought the necessary parts that we need. Jonathan will carry out the repair himself here, and of course we are not doing it under workshop conditions. That means anyone can replicate it at home. Here we have the shock absorbers, the new ones. And per piece, I believe it was 70 euros at the store. These are good ones too, they were not cheap. You can definitely get it cheaper on the internet. So you have to take a look at the links below the video where you can get the products for a good price. Here we have the strut mounts or top mounts. And they are made of aluminum. Seems to be aluminum die cast. Yes, and they are screwed on at the top accordingly. New fastening screws. Always use new screws. Dust cap. That goes on top of the shock absorber. Then I would say, let's get started right away. So first we will jack up the vehicle and remove the rear wheel. First engage the handbrake. We are working here today at the back, removing the hubcap. Loosen them in a star pattern. As I said, not workshop conditions. Anyone can replicate this at home. Exactly. Loosen them once so that we can easily remove the screws when we have jacked up the vehicle. First, take a close look at your vehicle to see where you can place the jack. We have this simple garage jack here, which can lift, I don't know, 2 or 3 tons. That's completely sufficient for a normal vehicle. And that's actually something that shouldn't be missing in any home workshop. Place it here on a stable crossbeam. There are always specific points where it is intended for you to jack it up. Then it does not damage the vehicle. And then just pump it up so that your tire is then in the air. It is important now to secure everything with a jack stand before you start. Jonathan is doing that here with this simple jack stand. Find a good and secure spot here again. With this valve, you can carefully lower it so that the car rests properly on the safety jack stand. Now the car is stable and we can start dismantling the shock absorber. So here we have our socket wrench set, which will be used here. It should actually be available in every home workshop, and you don't need to buy the most expensive one. Standard quality will do. We will also link such a product in the video description. We are now using the 13mm socket. Here we see the old shock absorber. And first we will loosen the 2 screws at the top that hold the strut mount. A bit difficult to reach the screws, but with a small extension it's actually no problem. And they weren't that tight either. You can almost turn them by hand, right? We won't cut much from the video here, so you can see exactly how long something like this takes. So you have loosened the 2 screws at the top. It will probably fall out when you take it out. Now of course the shock absorber is still attached at the bottom. So I'm filming here from the back, from under the car, and here you can see how the shock absorber is bolted at the bottom with a bolt. It goes in here, and then you can see in this tube that there's this nut inside, and that's a 17mm nut that we need to hold here. For example, this works well with the open end wrench. And here we need to loosen the bolt with the 16mm socket. That can, of course, be a bit difficult. It would also help to oil it a bit with WD-40 beforehand to loosen the rust a little. But Jonathan has already loosened it. That's great. Now you can unscrew it piece by piece. As I said, this is not a professional garage, but we're doing this at home in the driveway, and that's how most of you will do it if you want to save money. Nowadays, garages are expensive, and that's why we're just showing how we do it ourselves and save money. So now you've got the screw out. Here we see the bolt, which will be reused in this case. Of course, you can also use a new one if it's completely rusted, but this one still looks pretty good. We'll just reinstall it. So now the shock absorber is loosened. Now it's about getting it out. Now he compresses it a bit and then we got it out, so it looks like this is still the original part. The vehicle is already a bit older now. And here this protective cap, we first have to unscrew it from the thread because this part will be reused. Now you can just lay the old shock absorber down like this and assemble the new one in the same way as the old one. Because just as the old one came out, the new one goes back in the same way. So you can actually unscrew the cap by hand, right? So here we have the new parts, except as I said, we are reusing this old cap, the new shock absorber, the bump stop, and the strut mount here. And Jonathan will now assemble it nicely. First, insert the buffer into the cap accordingly. Then press the whole thing into the strut mount so that it is straight at the end. Is aligned. Now we can insert the shock absorber so that it comes out at the top. Then we take the supplied nut. Since the nut naturally turns when he tightens it, it's clear that you need to hold the rod with a 5 or 6mm open end wrench. That means you go onto the nut with the ring spanner and tighten it accordingly here. Here it is important not to use the impact drill, even if you have one at home, because it can break the shock absorber at the other end where the rod goes into the shock absorber. Jonathan is making sure it is nice and tight. Now we put the old cap back onto the thread. So now we have assembled the new shock absorber just like the old one, put the cap on, and now we will reinstall it. For this, 2 new bolts are provided, which we will now insert into the strut mount with a 13mm socket and washers. We now push the shock absorber together, compressing it so that it fits in at the bottom, and then place the screws at the top into the strut mount. tighten the screws a bit. They are now to be tightened with the torque wrench. So for that, we now have our torque wrench. In this case, it is tightened with 60 Newton meters, but that can of course vary from vehicle to vehicle. So now the bottom, lining up the holes and inserting the bolt. So here also it is tightened with the torque wrench with 110 Newton meters. So our shock absorber is fully installed. And now the wheel can be put back on. When the tire is back on the ground and has grip, you can tighten all the nuts again with the torque wrench, and the repair is complete. Yes, we hope you like this video and that it helps you with your repair. If so, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe and share this video. You can find more detailed car repair videos on this channel. Also about our Dodge Ram, we wish you much success with your repairs. As mentioned, remember the links we have compiled for you below so you can find the appropriate products and tools you need for the repair. Thank you for watching and see you next time. This is Jeramic85 signing out.